I have a 16-year-old son. He's a good student, a good athlete, and he's beautiful, inside and out. But all mommies feel that way, right? I've been avoiding this Karmelo Anthony case, avoiding even thinking about it until now, and I finally think I understand why. My son was just a baby when George Zimmerman was acquitted for killing Trayvon Martin. Trayvon was 17 years old, just a year older than my son is right now. He was walking home from a convenience store doing nothing wrong. He was such a kid, such a child, a typical teenager, that he had Skittles and an Arizona in his hand. He was followed, confronted, and killed. George Zimmerman, his killer, appointed himself judge, jury, and executioner, and then he walked free, claiming that he was under attack. His defense was the standard ground law in the state of Florida. I remember holding my baby that day and crying, not just because of Trayvon, although that's reason enough. He was another woman's child killed, but because I was reminded that as a Black mother and the mother of a Black son, I carry a catalog, a whole catalog of worry that other mothers just don't have to carry. I've always told my son, run if someone is following you, fight back if someone is attacking you. That makes sense, right? It's what's supposed to keep him safe. Trayvon ran. He fought back. He was killed for it. And his killer walked free. I remember sitting in the kitchen of my son's white bonus grandma, we call her Nana Ree, and asking her through my tears, are our Black boys not even allowed to defend themselves? That was years ago. And I'm asking that same question today. Karmelo Anthony also was 17 years old. He also was a good student. He had a 3.7 GPA. He was a good athlete, and he was Black. He was at a track meet with his team on a rainy day in Frisco, Texas, when a confrontation broke out under a tent. My understanding is that he'd stepped in to escape the rain, and that's not at all an uncommon practice at these events. He was asked to leave. Words were exchanged. He warned, touch me and see what happens. He was shoved, and that's when he pulled a knife and stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, another teenager and athlete. Austin is white. Karmelo claimed self-defense. The jury, with not a Black person on it, disagreed. They convicted him of murder, and the judge sentenced him to 35 years in prison. Now he's 19 years old. Texas is another standard ground state, one of the strongest in the country. The Texas law says if you are somewhere you have a legal right to be and you are not engaged in criminal activity, you have no duty to retreat before defending yourself. Karmelo was at a track meet. He had every right to be there. In fact, he was supposed to be there. He was not committing a crime. He issued a verbal warning. He was physically shoved, and then he responded. The prosecution argued that his touch me and see what happens made him the aggressor, and therefore the state's standard ground law or the state's standard ground defense didn't apply. I want you to sit with that for a moment. A teenager feeling cornered and threatened says, touch me and see what happens, and those 6 words are the reason the self-defense law does not protect him. And he got 35 years for it. Now, I want to be clear that I am not suggesting that Karmelo Anthony is innocent. I'm not even saying he shouldn't face any consequences. I have to be clear about that and say that directly because the so-called Black position gets misread constantly. I call it the OJ effect. When O.J. Simpson was acquitted back in 1995, Black America's reaction was misread, perhaps intentionally, as celebrating a murderer going free. That is not what was happening. What was happening was that Black people watched, perhaps for the first time in most of our lifetimes, a Black man with resources receive the same benefit from the legal system that white men have always received, even when they didn't have extensive resources. Hashtag Emmett Till. That's what people were responding to, not murder, the possibility of equal justice. I worry that we're still being misread the same way now. Black people are not saying that Karmelo Anthony is innocent. We're not saying that Austin Metcalf deserved to die. I mean, we of all people know what it means to have a child's life tragically cut short. What we are saying, what we've been saying for generations, is that this system does not apply the same standard to Black lives that it applies to white ones. In other words, Black lives don't matter the same way white lives do. So here's what I'm asking of all of us. First, see it. See the inconsistency. Don't look away. Don't explain it away. Look at it squarely, directly, even and perhaps especially if it's painful. 2, name it. Be willing to say out loud that Black people in this country do not receive equal protection under the law. Not as a political statement, but as a fact. Because it is a fact. It has always been a fact. And the Karmelo Anthony verdict is just one more piece of evidence of that fact. Then 3, demand change. Demand that we stop accepting a 2-tiered system of justice as though that's just the way things are. Because I have a 16-year-old son, and he's beautiful. And he, my brothers, my nephew, all of us deserve to live in a country where the law protects us the same as everyone else. That's not a radical idea. It's supposed to be an American ideal.